What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Collider Interview Studio at New York Comic Con 2024. I am kicking off my Comic Con on a real high note because I am obsessed with the Penguin. Welcome to our studio and huge congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
So to everybody watching, this conversation will include spoilers through episode 6. So if you have not watched episode 6, this is not the conversation for you. Go binge the show and then come back to this video. Lauren, you're going to get my first question, and I'm going to start at the beginning of that episode. I'm curious, what was it like coming to the decision that you needed a time jump going from episode 5 to 6? Why did it suit the story best to have Oz's operation semi up and running then?
Well, I think the way we ended 5, where Oz and Victor go down and Oz tells Victor about the tunnels and we see the sort of meaningful potential underground layer for him, it felt right to then jump ahead and see it in action. And then also just gives story-wise, like all of our characters some breathing room.
You get a whole bunch of new layers to play with, and you do big time. Rhenzy, I'll jump to you now with one of the most, I guess, the standout scene of that episode, or one of them at least, the Squid kill. I got a couple questions about that. First, for you, just getting into the right headspace for a moment like that. When do you think he realizes that he is willing to kill Squid? Is that something he's reckoned with before, or is it the heat of the moment?
Right. Yeah, that was something that we I guess I thought a bit about. Like, I think he goes into it totally thinking that the money play is going to work, and then I think it's a heat of the moment thing where you don't really have, there's not much time to make a decision, but you know what the consequences could be if you let him come back. And so without really having much time to think, you got to make a decision. And I think before he knows what he's doing it, which kind of I thought was, I think it was really exciting the way that when I read it, I was like, this is really cool because you kind of get to do it all on camera, kind of. And so that was always fun, that idea.
Complexity of that moment. I loved it. Another question about that, because after he actually does shoot Squid, there's a multitude of different reactions he could have had. And I think you captured quite a few in your reaction shot. What was it like figuring out kind of like the knee-jerk reaction he needs to have after realizing what he had just done? Yeah,
that was something Lauren and I had talked about from the very first time that we'd even met in Los Angeles before we went and shot the show. Knowing that huge moment was going to happen for Victor and what that was going to feel like and be. And it's kind of one of those things that you're thinking about the entire shoot because you know it's like a big moment or whatever. And so you kind of are thinking about it a lot. And one of the things that I had found, maybe it isn't good for my just psyche in general, but I started looking up some videos of like horrific things that happen to human beings. I shouldn't have said that out loud. I know, but then what I found was that it was really hard to, although like awful to look at, hard to look away from also. And so I always thought about playing with that. And there's obviously this remorse thing going on. He doesn't want to have to do this thing. He feels like he had to do this thing. He almost feels like he was forced to do this thing. And then it turns into this kind of like, mad at you for making me do this. And it was just it was something about capturing something, it wasn't so black and white, this thing. And so I think that was something that we wanted to sort of capture, was how complex that kind of moment could be for Victor.
It's not easy to convey so many things in a single story beat, and you do that very, very well. Cristin, I'm going to come your way now because you get a great one-on-one scene with Carmen in this particular episode. Yeah. And I feel like most of the show, we've seen Sofia kind of go toe-to-toe and do verbal sparring with men in this world. And this is one of the first times she gets a meaty scene with another woman. So how does her demeanor and her approach to like parsing out a situation like that change when it is another woman?
Gosh, I mean, I think that like, obviously she's caught off guard as well. She goes in thinking she has all the power, and then there's so much that she realizes in that scene about herself and the ways in which they've both been like used and overlooked and underestimated and had things like put on them. And I just always thought that was such it's one of my favorite scenes. And also the way that Sofia comes in with her own sort of like predetermined opinions of who this person would be, and that are like from her own upbringing or whatever. And that, I just think that scene is like so wonderfully complex and takes a lot of twists and turns.
Just to highlight Carmen, who I think is phenomenal in this, but in general, can you tell me something about her as a scene partner that you appreciated? Maybe even something she did that helped you tap into something in Sofia in that moment.
Oh my God. I mean, that day was like, all of it, it was about to be like a brutally scheduled day. And I was like all of the days. It was just like, you have so much to like endlessly mine in that scene. And you have like half a day to shoot it, which you think is a long time, but it's not. And she just like dove in from like the minute the rehearsals began, and we'd only had really one interaction. We'd interacted in like the hair and makeup trailer, but like really just the one at the club.
Yeah.
And she just like, even in rehearsals was just like raw and present and there and like went for it, which is, she's, I don't want to use the word like an adversary, but in a way, like there's like a lot of like power struggle there and vulnerability too. And she just brought it. So she was just a joy to
Yet another
act with.
like beautiful scene in this particular episode. Mike, for you, I want to go a little broader because I was looking at another interview you had done, and you mentioned that the Penguin is probably the most challenging thing I've done yet in my career. So that sparked one question in my mind. If this was the most challenging, it did make me curious. What is number 2 on that list?
Oh boy, I think number 2 might be Eddie Murphy, what we did for Coming to America, as far as job wise. But I think this in particular is the hardest because it's Colin Farrell and everyone knows what Colin Farrell looks like. And to go completely unrecognizable and to have him fully embrace this character without having to be himself is the biggest challenge because everyone is scrutinizing. Where is Colin? Where is he? Can I see him? He's gone. So it's the hardest thing ever.
It's a significant job that you're pulling off there, but given the fact that everyone is scrutinizing, is there any like teeny tiny elements of that design that you were always most concerned about? Whether it was because how it would wear over the course of the day, his expressions, something that kind of ran the risk of maybe falling apart?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the materials are sensitive, so everything affects it. A collar, hard collar, stiff collar might rub beard color off, or if he's doing a certain expression, it might wrinkle in a strange way, or if it's hot and he's sweating, there's bubbles that come up. So there's always like, it's a battleground, you're trying to deal with it and adapt each day of filming. But he's great in it. I mean, I design each makeup, and in particular this, I look at the actor's face and I see what's the most expressive part of that person. And do I want to cover that up or do I want to leave that there? Because it's not like you're covering the whole face with a mask. You're leaving pieces of expressive features that you want to blend in with each other. So Colin's forehead is his own. So he's got this very expressive forehead, but his brows are different. I wanted to change that shape. His eyes around are his own. So these are things I wanted to keep. I didn't want to cover those up. So the mobility is a factor going in and saying, what do I want to leave and how can I hide and disguise this person within and not have any of the tricks revealed?
Rock solid choices across the board. I could sit here and talk with you all day. I am not allowed. I must say goodbye. Huge, huge, huge congratulations on the Penguin through episode 6. I will tease, I've seen the full thing and you all should be incredibly proud. I had my mind blown watching this whole thing, and how you've developed all these characters is just truly next level stuff. So congratulations, and thank you for sharing some of your experience with us.
Thank you.
To everybody out there, thanks for watching this interview. Stay tuned. So much more coming your way from New York Comic Con 2024 very soon.